We did it for the mystery thriller category, and now I'm going to be doing it for the horror category as well. I will be predicting the 2023 Goodreads Choice Awards nominees and winner for the horror category. If you're watching this video, it's very likely you have seen my prediction videos for the mystery thriller category for the Goodreads Choice Awards that I kicked off in 2022 and then I did again in 2023. So I won't waste your time here with a long introduction. We'll get to the point rather quickly. I like to follow the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's really fun to predict what's going to be in the Goodreads Choice Awards, and I use a set of criteria to help me build a list of potential nominees and whittle down what is going to be eligible. And then from there, I just give it a pretty made up score where I multiply the average rating by the number of ratings, and this year I implemented a bonus point system as well to get to a manufactured score to help me stack rank books and give my predictions of what I think is going to make it into the top 20, top 10, and be the #1 winner of the Goodreads Choice Awards. Now that you're all caught up, let's get into the predictions. I have compiled a list of 74 horror books that are going to be eligible for the 2023 Goodreads Choice Awards. These are books that have come out in the eligible time range and that have an average rating above a 3.50. This also does include a couple of works that have been translated or a major republication, re-release, because those are also included in the Goodreads Choice Awards. To get started, I usually like to look at average rating. What is the highest average rating? And kind of start building my list there. I'm going to go through most of these, get through the full list, and just mark anything I think could make it into the top 20, the initial batch of nominees, and then we'll filter down from there, make sure we just get to 20, and then start making the really difficult decisions. We've got some pretty highly rated horror books. For the ones that are over a 4.0, we have 22. So that's a lot to get started. And I'm gonna go through this pretty quick and just kind of go based off of intuition as we're building this initial pool. I feel like Becoming the Boogeyman could potentially make it into the top 20. The Reformatory isn't going to be published until the end of October, so that's going to be pretty late. And honestly, this one's pretty late, and it has a high rating just because it hasn't been published yet. It was published 2 days ago at the time of filming this. So actually, maybe that one won't make it in. Nestlings is also going to be late. Our Share of Night has been out for a long time though and has a high rating. This was a translation that came out this year and I thought it was really good, and I think that would not be surprising to see in the top 20. Boys in the Valley has also been getting a really good reception in its first couple of months, and I really want to read that one, so I hope it makes it in. Black River Orchard, I don't particularly feel any sort of way about at this moment, but Holly by Stephen King will most definitely be on the list. Schrader's Court has a high rating but a low amount of readership, and same for Wasps in the Ice Cream. And also same for Linghun, but Monstrilio has a decent readership, so that one might be in there. Out There Screaming, which is a collection of stories edited by Jordan Peele, just came out at the beginning of October, has a high rating but low readership, and I don't know about seeing an anthology in there, so I'm not sure about that one. This one has not even come out yet. Camp Damascus does have a pretty high average rating, so we might see that one. The September House kind of sticks out to me. A Darcy Coates book wouldn't be surprising to see in there. Bad Cree, I've heard a lot about. Vampires of El Norte. Isabel Cañas's first book, The Hacienda, ended up #2 in the Goodreads Choice Awards last year for this category, so I definitely think we're going to see that one. I'm not sure about Black Sheep. I feel like maybe Mona Awad's book will make it in. Mayfly has been really popular. These I'm unsure about. I'm not sure about any of these. Maybe Delicate Condition, because the new season of American Horror Story is based off of this one, so it could be getting popular. How to Sell a Haunted House will definitely be in there. That one has a huge readership compared to most of these other books on the list. Same with A House with Good Bones. Lone Women I also think will be in there. The book's been all over the place this year. Silver Nitrate, maybe. Sylvia Moreno Garcia's Gothic, Mexican Gothic. I don't remember if that won the year it was nominated, but she has definitely been in the awards before. None of these are sticking out to me except for Sister Maiden Monster, but not a huge readership there. I don't know about Ascension. or Katrina Ward's book. The Stranger Upstairs I put in this grouping because horror is the main category it is categorized on in Goodreads, but I do not consider that a horror book, so I hope it does not make it into this category. The Spite House, I don't know. That does not have a super high average rating. The rest of these are pretty low, so let's see how many that resulted in. Okay, so that gave us 16, so we still have plenty of room to add more to build up the initial list of 20. Let's look at the most readership, the most number of ratings. We've caught most of these so far. Gosh, The Stranger Upstairs, I just really hope that this does not make it into the horror category. I also just didn't think it was very good, but it just did not feel like a horror book to me. It was much more of a mystery thriller, but it's being called a gothic psychological book. I just don't know. I mean, it was a book of the month book club pick, and those are ones you will often see in the awards, but oh my gosh, I hope this does not end up in there. Episode 13 is a pretty popular one from this year, but it has a really low average rating. Stephen Graham Jones' book has a pretty high average rating and decent amount of readership relative to the rest of the group, so that one might be in here. Natural Beauty kind of has a higher average rating with decent readership. Came out in April, and it is a horror book. I have not read this one yet. It has pretty good reviews. Maybe we'll see that one in there. And then Katrina Ward, let's look at previous years to see if she was in here before. So Katrina Ward last year wrote Sundial. That was her 2022 release, and it did make it in here. So I don't think that would be too out of expectations for Looking Glass Sound to make it into the awards. Who else do we have in here? We got Isabel Cañas and T. Kingfisher. We have the Stephen King. I don't think Jennifer McMahon has a new book. Darcy Coates we got. Ian Reid does not have a new book. Rachel Harrison, did we get Black Sheep? We did not, so that one we might see again. I don't believe any of these other authors have a new book out. So what does that bring us to? That's a perfect 20. Okay, let's look at the rest one more time, and we're gonna go by my score, which takes into consideration a multiple of the average rating times the number of ratings, and then bonus points are added based off of a set of criteria, including if they were a previous nominee in the awards before, if they've been a previous winner, if the book was a book of the month club pick, a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, a GMA book club pick, an Amazon pick from this list that they put together. Goodreads put out an article about the hit books of the year. If it was on that, it got a bonus point, and then the total bonus points are multiplied times 100 and added to their score. Some of these things, like the Reese Witherspoon book club and the GMA book club, are more relevant when I'm doing the mystery thriller category because these book clubs do not really pick horror books. So when we're sorted by our score, How to Sell a Haunted House comes out on top, which keep that in mind for later when we get to the hard part of narrowing things down. Our Share of Night also is up here really high because it has such a high amount of readership and a really high average rating, so that's nice to see. Stephen King, no surprise. Things we're missing out on. The Stranger Upstairs is yet again coming out pretty high because it's getting this bonus point for being on the Book of the Month Club and because it has a pretty high readership. I just don't know how much this matters that this horror is the main genre listed here, even though it just does not feel like a horror book. I just feel like this needs to be a mystery thriller, and I don't know how they handled that. When there's these books that are kind of towing the lines or that are kind of categorized wrong, I feel like they're going to default to what it is mostly shelved as. I actually just disenjoyed this book so much. Unenjoyed. I just did not like this book very much at all. So I'm actually curious, for those of you who have read this book, let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Would you call this a horror book, or would you call it a mystery or thriller or suspense or a neighborhood drama, which is what I call it? Let me know what you think about that, because maybe I'm just so harsh on it because I just didn't enjoy the book that I don't really put a lot of thought behind it and it doesn't stand out in my mind as a horror book, but I'm curious if other people think that. I'm nervous to leave it off the list because it is coming up so high when we look at readership for the horror genre. Readership in general across the horror genre, I've noticed the number of ratings being pretty significantly lower than the mystery thriller category for most of these books. So many of these books only have, below 5,000 ratings, which seems really low. So it's definitely a more niche reading genre. I just don't know about this book. I can see a path where it gets included. I can see a path where it doesn't. Let's look at last year again. Are there any of these books that I feel like are not horror books. Out of the ones that I have read, Hidden Pictures, actually, which is the winner, is a thriller. How did that end up in here, right? Okay, so The Stranger Upstairs, I do feel like is probably gonna just be in here if you can win the horror category being a thriller book. These other ones, I don't have much of an opinion on. They all feel like horror books, the ones I've read at least. So I fear we may have to include The Stranger Upstairs. The Drift, I believe I included that on the mystery thriller category as well, but it is mainly categorized as a horror on Goodreads. So we might want to look at this one as well. CJ Tudor has been a nominee before, I believe, but I don't think she has won with any of her books before. It has a 3.72 with 8,600 ratings. I did really like it. I thought it was really good, and it's been out pretty much all year. And I don't know, I feel like that needs to go into consideration for the top 20. Oh, somehow we ended up with A Stranger Upstairs on the list twice. Well, we can delete that and we don't have to worry about that again. Episode 13, I kind of thought it might be on the list because it's been out since January. I just feel like I've heard about it a lot. It has a pretty high readership relative to the other books, but it has a really low average rating of a 3.56. That is eligible, but it is just not good. So I don't know about that one. I feel like I'm okay leaving that one off. Then we have The Salt Grows Heavy, Tell Me I'm Worthless, Venko, Mr. Magic, The Spite House. And I feel like this is where I'm good cutting it off. Like Ascension and How Can I Help You, even though they have higher scores, I don't feel like those would be in here above these other books I've already selected. So really we just need to look at these remaining 5 potential candidates, and honestly, let's just pull them all in and then we can look at everything that we have. So this is 27 books. We need to cut 7 of them off the list, and I think we're sorted by score right now. So if we were to take off the bottom 7, these are the ones we'd be looking at. And I don't think that we can take off Darcy Coates. That feels weird. Monstrilio has a super high rating. So does Boys in the Valley. It's Mona Awad. Mayfly has been talked about a good bit recently. Rachel Harrison has been in the awards before. Delicate Conditions, the only one I'm kind of unsure about, like, is being the inspiration for American Horror Story enough to get that one into the awards? I'm not totally sure. Maybe let's look at what has the lowest ratings. So these would be the bottom 7 by average rating. I think we can take off The Salt Grows Heavy. Cassandra Caw is not very beloved, at least amongst the people that I tend to hear from. Tell Me I'm Worthless. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. What about Venko? I never read that book, but I wonder if that's kind of yeah, that's bucketed as a fantasy, so I think we can take off Venko. I don't feel super confident about The Drift. I kind of feel like we can take that off. I just don't expect to see this on there for some reason. So now we have 24. We have 4 more to remove. We have books that are really lowly rated and that have been out a long time. Tell Me I'm Worthless. I don't know why I feel like we're gonna see that one on there. It doesn't have any bonus points though, so maybe we should take this one off. Then if we apply that same theory, The Spite House is the lowest rated. It's been out since February and it has 0 bonus points. So I guess we should take that one off too. We have 2 more to get rid of. Let's look at number of ratings again. Okay, well these just came out. But it has such a high rating. Bad Cree I've seen like on Amazon being pushed a bit, and that just always makes me think a book is gonna be in the awards. So many of these feel right to me. Like this feels like a pretty decent list. Mr. Magic kind of stands out as a little bit weird to me. I can't quite figure out why. Maybe it's because I didn't really love it that it's sticking out to me. You know what? Maybe we should remove Delicate Condition. We have to get rid of something. So let's get rid of that. And then we have 1 more to remove. Maybe Black Sheep, because even though Rachel Harrison has been in the awards before, it has a lower average rating. Well, I guess there's some stuff that's really low. Should we take The Stranger Upstairs off? Is that so crazy to do? I don't know. I think I have to go with what I believe a little bit too, because I do a lot of this based off of numbers, but also a balance of intuition. And if I were working at Goodreads and I were compiling the initial nominee list, this would not make it into the horror category. And that's what we have to go with. So that brings us our top 20. I feel pretty good about that list. I think these will be the top 20 nominees. Now, the next round of the Goodreads Choice Awards is a voting round. You get to vote on one book per category that you want to win, and then all of those numbers come in and it narrows down to the top 10, and then you vote again, and then there is one winner that is announced. So now we have to pick what the top 10 will be. And there's some I just feel so sure about. How to Sell a Haunted House is without a question going to be in the top 10. Holly by Stephen King, without a question, is going to be in the top 10. Lone Women, I really feel like will be in the top 10. Our Share of Night, honestly, I think is going to be in the top 10. Vampires of El Norte, I feel like we're going to see again. And then we have 5 more. Probably Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I just really feel like Bad Cree is going to be on there. I don't really know why. T. Kingfisher, I also think we will see that. And now we have 2 more. So things I like to think about at this point is what kind of authors have a captive audience who will come in and vote for them, and then also generally who like typically shows up in these. So seeing like Grady Hendrix, Stephen King, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Isabel Cañas, newer, but she did so well last year. I think she'll do well again. Out of the rest of these, the ones that stand out to me include Stephen Graham Jones, Darcy Coates, potentially Mona Awad, and potentially Philip Fracassi or Rachel Harrison. Darcy Coates feels like a no-brainer. I just feel like her books always make it to the top 10. And then out of the rest of these, Stephen Graham Jones does feel like a good pick. So that would be 10. That would be the top 10. Does that feel correct? These are highly rated books that we're not including in the top 10. Do I think people will come out and vote for these books and put them in the top 10? Let's look by number of ratings, because I feel like audience size plays a big role here. I kind of can't believe Darcy Coates is so low on the list. Surprised there's not a higher number of ratings for that one. The September House is kind of sticking out. And where's Bad Cree? Oh, it's right above Bad Cree. Those are the two I'm kind of like between, because the September House only just came out in September and is already doing so well. Bad Cree has been out all year, has a slightly lower average rating and a slightly lower number of ratings. So maybe I'm gonna swap that out, which feels kind of weird because I've really been thinking about Bad Cree all year, but I think I have to go with it. So that makes these my top 10 predictions for the top 10 nominees. And now we have to pick a winner, and I feel like this is going to be kind of easy, but a little bit challenging. I feel like our top 2 contenders in here, well, I'll do a top 3 or a top 4. I think the top 4 are the top 4 that are right here. How to Sell a Haunted House, Our Share of Night, A House with Good Bones, and Holly. I think those are going to be our top 4. When it all comes out, they do show you the number of votes that each book got. So I feel good locking that in. Those are my top 4 that I think will come in based on number of votes. For the absolute winner of the category, I think it's either going to be How to Sell a Haunted House or Holly. I think those are my top 2. I will say last year Stephen King had a book in the nominees, but it did not win, which is surprising because I feel like usually Stephen King wins. But this was like the 3rd book in a series. Yes, the 3rd book in the series, the end of a trilogy. So that kind of made sense that it didn't absolutely win. And honestly, Holly is also connected to a series. I think it can be read as a standalone, but it's like a spin-off, and I feel like it's better read when you read the other books. So maybe it's not too far-fetched to expect this one to not win because of that, because it's not a standalone. And honestly, I think that just helped me make my decision. I feel like we have to go with How to Sell a Haunted House. I feel like that one is just my clear winner. Not that I want that to win. I have my own personal opinions. I haven't even read How to Sell a Haunted House because I didn't think I would like it very much. But the Goodreads Choice Awards never aligned with my personal preferences, and so I'm not feeling too weird about selecting that as a winner. It feels like an obvious winner. I'm honestly going to be a little surprised if it doesn't win because it just has so much more readership than the other books on the list. Like, Grady Hendrix fans are going to come out and vote for that book. Even if they haven't read this one, they're going to see the name Grady Hendrix and they're going to click on it and they're going to vote on it. So I feel pretty good about that. And I generally feel pretty good about my selections. I feel like this went smoother than my mystery thriller video did. I was having a really hard time with some of those. It it was a more challenging year for me in the mystery thriller nominations and winner prediction than I felt like it was last year. This year was just like less predictable, I feel. It's been kind of a weird year for mystery thriller books, and that category, you just never really know what's going to happen. But the horror ones, I feel pretty good on. Now watch me come out and react to this later, and I got significantly less correct in this than the mystery thriller or something. But we'll have to wait and see. I will be coming out with a video in a couple of weeks whenever the Goodreads Choice Awards are over. I film my reactions to them as they are rolling out, and then it's kind of like vlog style footage of my full reactions to the final nominees and winner for the categories. And it looks like the Goodreads Choice Awards is probably going to come out and be completely done around like December 8th or 9th. So that's about when you can expect that reaction video from me for both the mystery thriller and the horror categories. So make sure, if you're not, to subscribe down below, and you can also hit the post notification bell to be notified when I post. And if you missed it, I would recommend going and checking out the mystery thriller prediction video as well, because if you liked this, you're probably gonna like that one too. I'll have that video linked down below. And while you are down there hitting the buttons that you may or may not be hitting, let me know in the comments what you think of my predictions. Are there any books that I have left off that you think are really good shoo-ins? Do you feel really good about my predictions? Do you feel like I'm really wrong about anything? Let me know all your thoughts down below. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.